Hi, Yolanda. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi.
Hi. So I'd like to show you my studio. It's in here. This is actually my apartment. This was once the living room, but as you can see, the studio has taken over about 2/3 of it. And the studio is now also moving into the kitchen. And I don't really cook, so it's welcome to deal with the kitchen as far as I'm concerned. I've been in this place for about a year now. It's a really old Cambridge building. It was built in 1920. And they've done some renovations, but it has a lot of the old features, which I really like. So my painting process generally begins with photographs, and I love to travel. I take zillions of photographs, and these are, well, you don't need to know where these are from the Southwest. This is Cape Cod, but they're from all over the place. And generally, when I find something that I really like, I just print them out on my little inkjet printer and decide what I'm going to start with. These are architectural paintings, which I really haven't done yet. I'm just sort of studying these to figure out how I would want to execute them. But I generally start out with 2 or 3 of the landscape paintings, and I never end up doing a painting that looks like anything I've photographed. But having a photograph is a really good place to start. And when I'm traveling around, the other thing I do is I take close-ups of other artists' work, because I'm really interested to see the brush strokes. I'm interested to see, you know, what's wet on wet, what's dry over wet, how they get the effects that they get. And I usually manage to remember whose painting it was, but I'm embarrassed to say in this case I have totally forgotten. So, but it was obviously one I liked. Right now I'm working on a series of paintings, and these 2 are the first 2 in the series. I'm trying out some new techniques, and I am working to get an effect, which is an effect that I often work toward, of trying to get the effect of not a realistic landscape, but a very abstracted, mystical landscape that has to do, I mean, this sounds pretentious, but that has to do really with the spirit of the place, and with the emotion that it evokes. But mostly it's the spirit of the place. I think it's more about the place than it is about me, although I could be mistaken about that. So I would like to show you how I get started with a painting. I'm ready to start the 3rd one of this series. The canvas I use is, this one's 20 by 20, and I use the 1.5-inch depth canvas, because that way I have the option of whether or not I'm going to print it. So here we go. Now I just took these brushes out of the freezer about an hour ago, and I'm hoping they're sufficiently defrosted. Putting them in the freezer means I don't have to put them in solvent, and they won't dry out on me. And you know, it's a fine practice if you live alone. It's probably not such a smart practice if you don't live alone, and certainly it's not a good practice if you have kids, because this stuff is poisonous. You really don't want it mixed with your food. So both of these brushes stay really flexible, which is great. And the other thing I do is I leave some paint on the palette when I'm working on a series, so that I don't have to reinvent each combination when I start another painting. So what do we need here? We still need, well, actually, basically we need more of everything. So Payne's Gray is a color that I go through a lot of. Sometimes I vary that, but I like Winsor & Newton paints. They're a good quality at a more or less affordable price. Also, when I haven't been in this place very long, so I haven't painted all of the walls yet. But when I do paint walls, it will be this color, because it mostly, but some people buy paintings to go with whatever color their wall is. I paint my walls to go with my paintings. I usually use turpentine as my solvent. Today I'm using Gamsol because there's somebody else in the studio, and very often people do not like the smell of turpentine. It gives them headaches, it does brain damage. But I absolutely love the smell of it. So when I'm alone, I use it. I just need to grab my coffee here. The starting is nerve-wracking, as maybe you can tell. This is the part that's just so much fun. So I'm using the gray I mixed up. But I'm now also going to just throw in some white. Shade in there. Also, when my painting is going well, I paint very fast. When it slows down, it means it's not going well. I really like this part. I like the, I like just being able to create this world out of absolutely nothing. I mean, it didn't exist before, and it will exist now. And for me, this is what painting is about. Once the paintings are finished, I pretty much lose interest in them. I'm not an artist who has any trouble letting go of my work in order to sell it. In fact, I really want it to be somewhere else, because I have a small apartment, and it needs to be on somebody else's walls. The other thing I should tell you is I don't usually paint in these clothes. I usually paint in clothes that are absolutely covered with paint than just a total mess. But I just couldn't bring myself to wear those clothes for the video, so I'm looking much neater than usual. Okay, so it's time now to let this set up for a few minutes. It's too wet, so I'm going to start working on the bottom part of the painting. Different brush for that. Let me just see what's on that brush before I get too carried away with it. Ooh, that's cool. I really like that. Indigo. I forgot to put indigo out. So indigo is another one of these really dark colors. It's very hard to tell with the paint's green. Huh, that is really interesting. I wonder what's happening here. Well, first of all, I usually use very low horizons because my favorite part is to paint the sky. This is, I don't know what's happening here quite. This is turning out to be spectacularly interesting. So maybe what's happening, maybe we want to put a little water down here. Or maybe there is a little water down here. That would be reflecting the sky. When the water's reflecting the sky, the reflection is never exactly the same color as the sky. It's always a little bit darker or a little bit lighter. And in this case, it's going to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to take my sky color, mix it with a bunch of Payne's Gray. I think I'm going to put in a little bit of indigo as well, if I can remember where the indigo is. Pretty sure this is the indigo. Some painters place their paints on their palette in exactly the same place every time, which is actually a really good idea because you know what you're painting with, but I seem to have trouble remembering to do that. So I'm going to just try to clean off this brush a bit because I don't want to get too much light paint in my dark paint. And other people are much more careful about keeping their brushes clean than I am. Well, I'm not sure this is exactly what I want to do, but I'm just going to assume it is. So let's do it. Too symmetrical, which they might be. So I think we'll just move one over a little bit here. Blending in there. I don't want them to be exactly the same shape. That's kind of interesting. So I've been working with some new techniques, and one of them is to use rice paper to create texture. And using a brayer to create texture and to pick up some of the paint. So let's see how this goes. It was not quite firm enough with the brayer, so let me anchor the canvas a little bit. And now when you put this down the next time, part of what's going to happen is you're going to put down some of the paint you just picked up. And that's part of what makes it interesting. Ah, there we go. Now we're getting more of the effect I'm looking for.
Love it.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm kind of happy with how that's coming along. I'm not happy with this straight line here. You can't have straight lines. It just doesn't work well. Let's see if I can get that to be a little more organic looking. Go back and see what I can do to develop the sky a little bit further. And one of the things I want to do is to take some of this darker color that I use down here and get some of that into the sky. So, pretty bright. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. Let's just see how it goes. This is getting to a point where it's a little treacherous, where the land meets the sky, the horizon, which is always just, I mean, in real life as well as in painting, it is such a moment of mystery. I mean, it just really intrigues me, and how it's going to go. Sometimes that's a part of the painting that, for me, that needs more work than other parts. So that is okay. So let's just see if we can. Ooh, dripping. Ooh, I think that's really going pretty well. This little spot right here has this bit of white in it that is really bothering me. Also, the rule that you can paint just with paintbrushes is ridiculous. You can paint with anything. Paper or fingers or... Page in there a little bit. So I think I'm going to keep this bottom part dark, and then I will emphasize more of the lighter side above. Oh, lots of drips. Oh wow, look at that. Mute it. Ooh, that's kind of cool. A little more darkness in here. So I want to try to get just a little sense of kind of a trail around this painting, particularly in the sky area. So I'm getting pretty happy with this painting. I'm not liking this down here. Sometimes you just have to keep taking paint off until I guess the thing I want to do right now is see if I can get some more drips going from up here, which seems to be in these two. I mean, for some reason the drips are over on the left side. I'm not really quite sure why that is, but it is. So let's see if we can make that happen again. This is just a spray bottle with Damsol in it. I sign my paintings by scratching my name into them while the paint is still wet. And I used to sign them T. Lee, but I've started now signing them Tanya Lee. Strips are interesting. I can't exactly tell you why, but I started doing that about 2 months ago. So the signature is there, you can see it, but it doesn't draw your eye, it doesn't draw your attention. So obviously I want it to be signed, but I don't want it to be the thing that you see first in the painting. Okay, so I've really tried here to show you my painting style and to describe to you some of what's going through my head when I'm painting. And I hope you found it interesting and informative. Thank you so much for watching.